Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Have you ever thought you saw something and wondered, did you really? Or did you go into, let's say, a house, maybe an old house, and thought you felt something, you saw something? Maybe you did. We're going to talk about paranormal activity today. And he's somebody that experiences that and so much more. He teaches mediumship. He does readings as well. Tim Medium is back with us. Welcome back, Tim. How you doing?
Great, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. And this is a topic that some people just look at it and say, "Okay, I'm just going to change the channel," or you're riveted to it because you've experienced things, you've seen things, you've wondered about them, and you wonder what's going on. When we say, I guess we start from the beginning here. We say paranormal. A lot of times people get this visual of spooky things and crazy things going on. No, paranormal activity is essentially, if I'm getting this right, just spirit making itself known.
Definitely, Steve. There's plenty of that does happen. And although being in the industry and in the field of mediumship, I understand it a lot better than most because I experience it quite frequently on a daily basis. Most people think of it as an evil or something that's in a negative fashion.
Yeah.
It typically is not. It's people's perception that leads them to that conclusion, or other people's perception that it's an evil spirit, or whatever the case may be. That's not truly how it actually works.
So and I want to get into examples of things that you've experienced, felt, or seen. Before we even go there, if you're not sure if you saw something, how do you personally validate it? How can we, like, a couple of weeks ago, I still remember it. I was at a desk in that room. I thought I saw something dart past me. And I looked and I'm like, was it, leaf of a plant? Was it a piece of paper? Uh, Nothing. I got nothing. But do I believe that something may have been there? Yeah, I do. It's possible.
Absolutely. Those things are very common, more common. They're common to everybody, not just certain individuals. Everybody has experiences such as those where they'll see something out of the corner of their eye, or they'll walk around the corner and something, or they'll just feel the presence, or they'll smell smoke, or they'll smell their mother's perfume or their father's cigar. Those things are very real. Now, when those things happen, people's perceptions of lots of people understand those things to be a positive as well. Now, when those things happen, go to what you're thinking, because that's when they come. They don't come at random times. They come at specific moments in time. Nothing's by chance. Everything's for a reason when they come. And it's up to the individual to understand what they're thinking at that moment, and what's going on in their life at that moment. And that's why the spirit will come. The spirit can't make choices for you, but the spirit can certainly guide you in certain ways.
Well, that's what I should have done. I don't remember what I was thinking. I was probably in the middle of working, and it didn't even pop in my mind to be in the moment. I guess we need to be in the moment, be present so that you can experience it.
Definitely. It used to be it used to be every 3 weeks something would happen, and I would pay attention and I would understand that there's something there. As I got into the work and as I got deeper into the work, it became day by day, it became hour by hour. Now it's minute by minute. Now it's second by second. I really pay attention to them because they actually guide us in many different senses of fashions. Whereas for me, it's a lot of numbers. They talk to me through the numbers. So when I see a specific number, I have a number chart I go to, and it's not a random number chart. It's a very specific with thousands and thousands of numbers, and that's how they specifically talk to me and guide me. And those things are very real as well. Yes.
So you view it from a different angle because of your ability. But has there been times where you may have seen something, experienced something, and then said, "I don't know what that was. I got nothing."
All, all the time, and it happens. Currently, actually, I'm going through something where my veil is quite thin, so I'm capable of seeing a lot of the things that they're showing me, or the next dimension. And it's not just seeing gray matter per se out of the corner of the eye, like I just did right now. It's seeing white things. It's seeing other things as well. So it's becoming more clear, and it's coming. It's like a reading. The clarity is extremely high right now. So when the clarity is that way, pay attention, because they're guiding you and they're showing you things at this very moment. And in my case, it's specific. It's a direction of where I'm going to go next, and that's
Wow.
very cool to me. Yeah.
How about some examples of things you've seen or experienced and what that connected to?
Sure,
What
I can certainly do that. Walking around a corner in my home from my living room to my kitchen, I'm getting a little emotional as I speak about this, because it is emotional. It's very emotional. And seeing a full-fledged spirit standing right there with a red sweater on. And the intention was for that spirit to make a presence, because that was my mother on the other side when she came through. And very clear, very vivid.
wow.
I've also had my father come through and have a discussion with me for 5 minutes after he had passed away, probably 5 months later, and came to me at my place of work, and had a discussion with me about what was going on with inside the family after he had passed. Very clear, very vivid, very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Is it possible for us to experience that, or that it's because you have an ability, a certain level of intuitiveness, um, that you can see that, instead of just something darting past your eye, you see a loved one, you have a conversation with them.
I think the difference is just doing the work and being aware. I think that plays a big factor. It's not that it's not that I'm gifted or anything like that. It has nothing to do with those things. Gifts are under the tree, by the way. It's your abilities that you use. Sure, absolutely. When I teach, we work on specific muscles. Now, our muscles are what allows us to be able to read. So that makes the clarity of what we're getting and what we're seeing more clear for us, per se, as developing mediums. But that'll also make what we see from the other side clear in our real life as well.
Hmm. So what's your recommendation for the rest of us? Is it just be very aware and present? What were you thinking at that moment? What was going on at that moment? All of these things are pieces to the puzzle to figure out what paranormal activity happened before you.
Yeah, quieting your mind, having a quiet mind is the most important thing. If you're running at a million miles an hour during the day, you're going to miss everything. You won't see anything. Quieting your mind. The first thing I teach my students is sitting in the power, which is sitting in a dark room with nothing and just relaxing and going to the place where the magic happens, and leaving your daily life behind. That's the key to being able to start. And from there, meditation is quite important. Uh, Grounding and centering, which you had talked about earlier in the show, it's very important. But without sitting in the power, without having a quiet mind, you're going to miss. You won't be able to see. That's where we start. Yeah.
Were you, has this ever happened where you're doing a reading, somebody's in front of you, but you see something next to them, like see maybe a loved one, an image, something like that. Not, I'm talking a little bit more than receiving a message in your mind, physically seeing somebody.
Absolutely. It happened, and I actually talked about it with the lady I read yesterday. I just touched upon it a little bit because it was quite. Uh, I did a reading about 3 months ago, and the lady's brother had come through, and he was standing right there, right on the table, right where we were. It was one of the most incredible readings I've ever. I know that's not a word, but uh, it was such a special reading. I actually took a photo of what I had written down, and I never do that, but this one was real special, It was very unique, and the boy was right there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was wow. Yeah,
Was
it was
he
very cool.
speaking to you or was just silent, but you were receiving messages?
It was so deep. The messages he was giving his sister were very specific messages about their life that they had before. They were estranged when he passed. Now, but that didn't stop him from giving the messages that he wanted to give her. She actually left work on a Sunday, and she came and seen me, and she said, "That's it. I need to see this guy." And sure enough, it was. And the messages he gave her were very specific about their life prior to them being estranged and all the great times they had in their life. And then he talked about being estranged. Yeah, yeah.
I would have to imagine it gave her closure.
She was beyond. I was as a reader. I just sat there and I went, "Wow!" And her and the gratitude from her was, man, it was beyond. It's not towards me; it's towards her brother because that's where the connection lies. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just able to do the work for them. But man, I'll tell you, she was, yeah, she was delighted. To say the least. There was closure. There was a lot of other things because this reading went on for 45 minutes, so there was a lot of information coming through, and it was very. So there was many different parts of her life that were touched upon in the reading. Yeah.
Hmm. I always say it. You get anything? Use me as an example. If anything.
I'm gonna do that one day, Steve. I truly will. I actually had your mother one day, and I didn't. It was probably show two, and I didn't follow up on it. And in the very next show, you said your mother had come through, and I should. And I from that point on, but I will do that in
I'm
one
just
show. I
saying.
will.
uh, I,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
will
want you
take
to
a
feel
look.
like I can't. So just if there's anything that you feel, I'm transparent. I have nothing to hide. It's all right here. Um,
Yeah.
I know that you teach. You teach mediumship. Can you teach interpreting the paranormal activity?
You can, yes. It's the paranormal activity is a little different because basically what they're doing is making you aware of the direction they want you to go in. That's typically what happens to me, and that's why they're making my veil quite thin. And I'm seeing a lot of things right now through them. So it's very important to pay attention to your existence or what you're going through in your life because they can't make choices, like I said before, for you. That's one of the ethics in mediumship. The most important one is that choices they won't make. That's why we reincarnate to make our own choices, but they certainly help you. They certainly are aware of the situation you're in and what you need and what they're going to help you with. All you have to do is ask, and they're watch them go. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
They do things like that.
I know that we touched upon that once before, but I believe it bears repeating because we're there now. Um, do you ask anybody specifically that has passed over for something, a sign, a signal, or you just say, "All right, universe, spirit, whatever, give me an answer. I really need one right now," or do you direct it to somebody?
I did today, and I got it. It was quite cool. It was very cool. I'm doing some other work in regards to remote viewing, and I've been involved in remote viewing for a while now. It's a little bit different.
Now,
Uh,
what is that?
We're
I want to make sure I got that remote viewing.
Remote viewing is a little different. That's I'll just give you a brief description because it'd probably take a little longer than what we have time for. But it's looking at let's just say you want to take a look on the other side of the moon and see what's on the other side of the moon and see the bases that are there per se. And I know most people uh, get the alien thing and it's very real, but to actually see it and actually give specific description and get the actual factual while you're working with the U.S. military, the gentleman who's done that, and you get the factual evidence is pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. Huh. Um, who do we ask for signs from? We just throw it out to the universe?
They're right there. They're standing right beside you. It's quite unique, and everybody has a team. Don't be afraid to talk to them because that's who's going to give you the what you're looking for. Or, I mean, there's many things growing up as a child. When you're 12 years old, you ask for something, and also suddenly it appears, or you're getting something, and that's gone through our whole life. Now, where does that come from? It comes from them. They're right there. It comes from the spirit world. I mean, they're the ones looking after us, our spirit guide, and whoever that might be at the time of your life. And then, of course, our angels are always protecting us, but then our soul family that's there as well. So, who's doing it specifically? For the most part, it depends on what you're asking for.
So does it change? Let's call it, just for lack of description here, um, your spirit guides. There's a whole bunch of spirits around you. Do they vary from time to time? And do you
Absolutely.
know who yours are? Can you say, oh, that's so and so, that's so and so?
I don't I don't listen how it works I mean you can I've been in the class I've taught in a class where there's 10 girls who know their spirit guides names. That's not quite how it really works. It doesn't work that way. You can give them names if you like, but to actually factually know who it is something that there's a very selected few on the earth plane that actually do know. Not that I'm knocking anybody because that's not why I'm saying this. I'm just saying this because it's fact, because there's so many people that work with angels. There's so many people that work with the spirit world. There's so many people that'll work with their spirit guides. It's not everybody. There lots of people play piano, but there's only so many concert pianists. That's typically how it works. Now, have I come across people who know their spirit guides? Probably, but it's not really important to me. What's important to me is knowing they're there and knowing and they do shift in different times of your life. When you go through a major shift in your life, you'll go through a different spirit guide. A different spirit guide will come in and one will leave because that one's uh, part of your life is done, and now another one will come in at a specific moment to help you with the next stage of your life. It's very cool how it works. Yeah.
When we say spirit guides, is it um, is it people that are connected to you that have passed over? You might not know which ones they are, or is it just archangels? Is it whoever? What do you think?
Sometimes it well family typically sometimes it is in that case, but I wouldn't go too far in regards to it always being family. Soul family is always around us, regardless. They're always going to be around you, whether you're right. But I mean, for spirit guides, there's specific guides that'll guide you through a portion of your life. Now, sometimes, very rarely, this is what I understand is it'll be a family member. They've got other things to do there as well. They're not all spirit guides that cross over to the other side. You have to be at a certain level on the other side to become a spirit guide. That's something completely a little different. That's very in depth of your level on the other side. Now, is a family member capable of stepping in? Absolutely, no question. Are do they? Some in specific, sometimes they do, I would think, but not in most cases. Some cases, not most cases.
Hmm. You do readings virtually, and all of us. I mean, around the world, seriously, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have. I've gotten up at 3 o'clock in the morning and read somebody in New Zealand. Yeah.
Wow. Is there any difference virtually or in person in terms of doing a reading? Is the communication still there, the same, a little bit different?
It's probably a little thinner actually if you're doing it over the phone. It's probably the thinnest. I never recommend on phone for the simple fact that everybody's got a computer. You can go online and you can do messenger, see your face. But you can. It still does. I've done it numerous times, many times, not numerous times, in all different types of scenarios. So mediumship is a little different because well evidential mediumship is a little different for the simple fact that it has to be factual evidence. First of all, it can't be just that there's somebody standing behind you and blah blah blah. This is who's behind you, who's here, why they're here, and what they want. So those things have to be a yes, so they have to be a yes, and they have to be a yes. They can't just be okay, right? So in that regard, it's very real. That's the difference about psychic mediumship work and evidential mediumship work, in a nutshell, actually.
What do you say? And I've heard this, over the years. Um, Cold readings, allegedly cold readings, where somebody who doesn't believe in the work will say, "Oh, well, yeah, the medium was just looking at their face and getting the facial expressions and picking up on the body language, and then they knew which way to go and what to say from there." What do you say to that?
That would be more of a psychic type of reading. Evidential readings are factual. You'll know if I'm reading you, Steve. Let's say I would have a sitting with you, and and your grandfather comes in, and your grandfather's wearing the hat, and he's very distinguished, and of course he was a businessman. So those things would have to be taken by you. Uh, it couldn't be, well, no, that's not correct, or no, that's not correct, or no, that's not correct. Evidential mediumship works that way, to where the factual evidence is something you would have to take. Now, psychic reading is a little different, and that's more of a psychic mediumship type of field, where that's where the cold readings would come in to. For me, if you're a non-believer, you're going to be a believer in 5 minutes. Trust me, because these are your people that are coming in to see you. These people aren't me, and trust me, I can do the work. So I'm not afraid by somebody who what I typically say to them is, this is your reading, and you've come to see you. So it's up to you to take the stuff or not take the stuff. That's on you. You really have to pay attention to what they're sending you, because it's very specific. Now, sometimes you have to think back in your life to maybe when you're 10 years old, or 12 years old, or 16 years old, or 18 years old, or whatever the case may be. But that information is going to be very specific, what they're sending you and what they want to talk about. So
And I think that's for me, that would be my biggest challenge. I call it psychic amnesia, medium amnesia, where something's presented to you and there's things that you need to think about quickly because we're onto something else. Um, yeah, I didn't. My grandfather passed before I was born, so yeah, I, I know
that's
I know some about him that can be validated, but I would have to think about it for a moment. Wait a minute, and I think
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you experience that too when you do readings for people.
Many times. Then I don't stay there. There's no point, because there's no factual evidence. If you want to breeze upon it, then absolutely fine. But then we'll work on a different spirit, and another one will come in for you, because they will. They know we're sitting, so they've made arrangements to be here, and that's typically how it works. Sometimes we need grandfather to get grandmother, because grandmother, and that's just how it works. That's how the spirit world works. That's what they want to do, and it's all up to them, just delivering the messages. That's it. But they will come in. There will be somebody that you will recognize, and the importance of that individual that comes in will be of importance to you currently,
I was
typically.
just going to say they're there for a reason at that moment with that message, whatever that message may be.
Yep, 100%. Or messages. I don't typically go one message. There's many messages inside a reading. Like last night, there was many messages, but it was very specific on who came in and the messages they wanted to deliver for this individual at that specific moment in that person's life. And that's exactly what happened yesterday, actually. Very cool.
Your website is your name, timmedium.com. Timmedium.com starts with a conversation, and if you're looking for answers, they're there. you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you have the answers, but you are the conduit to the answers. And even just closure and validation. We all need it. You know, as life goes on, maybe somebody has passed, maybe there's like the estranged brother that you had talked about before when you did that reading. That probably gave her closure, and he talked about their life before they became estranged, before he passed away, right?
It was very beautiful, and the information he brought through was direct. It was specific. It was the clarity in that reading was something like I had witnessed overseas. The clarity, and just absolutely stunning information that the boy brought through to the sister. And it was I just sat there myself actually, and I was emotional at the end of that reading, and it was showing through. Now that's to get to a place like that. Sometimes it does happen, but for 20 minutes of the reading, you're sitting there going, "Wow, wowzer!" That was very deep and meaningful to their client. So that's the biggest deal. It was. She got closure. She got a lot of information. She got specifics. It was outstanding.
I'm happy that you were not only the one that delivered the messages, but you personally were part of it, and that's just sounds wonderful. Like it sounds like your heart is overflowing, being a part of that and being able to make that mark in her life. Website is timmedium.com. Tim, always great having you on with us.
Yeah, Steve, I certainly enjoy coming on and doing the show. Absolutely.
Yep. And pay attention, people. It's there. You just gotta look for it and think about it. What were you thinking at that moment when you think you might have experienced something? And then if you can't figure it out, timmedium.com. Thanks again, Tim.
Thanks, Steve. Enjoy the day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.